In honor of the first day of October, so it's Nigerian Independence Day, and just a lot of things. I just wanted to make a video addressing some of your questions and just kind of letting you know where the story is at right now. I've been getting a lot of questions, well, not that many, but all of them sort of are like the same thing about like when is it gonna end? Well, Marin and Gino ever get together and blah blah blah. So it's just kind of fun to humor your questions every now and again, and I'm just gonna do that now. So it should be a quick video, like 5 minutes long. But some people had didn't want to be known; they just sent it through PM. So I'm just gonna answer some of the questions. So if you ask a question, I'll try to post in this chapter, who asked the question, like just shout out to whoever sent it as opposed to who sent what question, so no one knows. But then you can also probably just see it in the comments of this story, since I asked for you to ask questions before I would upload it onto this chapter. So anyways, here we go. So the first question is, which is actually like a handful of questions, is can you please clarify how you're going to finish the story? Like, I think you said before, there's another volume coming up. And as for the story itself, if you can, please confirm if Mirren will get justice or if there will be a happy ending. I'm a sucker for those. So, I think before I said that, right now the story is really just on a hiatus because although I have been writing, I have maybe 3 chapters that I've written. I know you're like, you should have more, but I have 3 chapters out, and I could just update them because I don't think that I'm going to do a serious revision in terms of the plot of the chapters. But I really want to get to the point where either I've just finished this 3rd book, which as I said before, I know when I first published the 3rd novel, I said it was the 3rd novel part 1 and that I would publish a part 2 as a completely separate story. But then I realized that I didn't really have that much material, or that the story wasn't going to be as long as I thought it was going to be. So the first book is 1 book and the 2nd book is 1 book. The 3rd book will be 1 book, but as you noticed, it is going to be a longer book than the first 2 books. The first book I think has 39 chapters. 2nd one has 48 chapters. Right now I think we're even 50 something chapters, but I think I'm just sort of following more on the maybe the Harry Potter train, where each book kind of just gets longer because there's just more characters that you care about, more things that need to be tied up. So I hope it isn't dragging on too much. Like I said, again, if I had more time, I could definitely just finish the story, which it is all I've drafted the entire story, so I know how it could if I just wanted to if I just had if I could just freeze time and just write for 4 months straight, then yeah, it would just be done. But since I can't do that, you are gonna have to wait. But the good news is that it isn't just oh well, I've hit writer's block, so maybe I'll find motivation in 3 years, maybe I won't. It's I know how it's gonna end, so it will end. It's just a matter of when I'll have time to upload it. But as you know, each year just gets more and more. I could show you for example, okay, let me show you something. Sorry, this setup isn't really working. But this is my course pack. So I have this book, which isn't too that thick, but literally I have as you can see, I don't know if you can see the thickness here, I literally have 9 days to pretty much memorize everything that's in that book. So even doing this, it's I don't have time to do this. But the last test went well, and we only have 1 more test in this particular class, so I'm well, I'm doing well enough that I don't have to worry about failing the class, as long as I do study, and everything should be fine. So that's why I was you know what, let's celebrate for right now, because after this test, I know it's gonna get even more busy, because then we have this fun stuff to start testing for. These are standardized exam at the end of the year. But anyways, that's just a point of why I'm super busy. So I know some of you are she's lying, she's not that busy, she doesn't care, she's one of those fake writers who likes to hurt our feelings but give us good things. But I'm really busy, and I just do this because I really value the feedback, and I really love how much it has touched you, and it's really an honor to do so. Okay, so let me just go through the last few questions. I don't have too many. I think I have like maybe like 5 or 6 um, questions. Okay, so let me make sure I've answered that one all the way. So okay, so I think I answered that. So this is like the last story. There's not another volume coming up. This is the 3rd book. And will Mirren get justice? I think it depends on how you think about if she's the one who truly is the victim, or has she done some things that might warrant how she's been how she's been received. So I think later on you'll sort of get a sense that she's not as innocent in everything, particularly in this incident with Penelope, and you will just get a better picture of the whole thing. And I'm sorry that it's taking so long, but I think once you see what the incident is and all these things, it'll be hopefully it'll be worth the wait. And is there a happy ending? Just speaking honestly, I don't want to be hey, just wait and see. But for the most part, the way I see the ending, and again, it's not written or anything, so it can change. I've had stories in mind where I knew it was going to end a certain way, and it didn't. But the ending, how I see it, will probably be more bittersweet. It's not going to be a really sad. It'll be a little, some heartstring tugging, but it won't be a horrible X and X isn't going to end up with each other, and then there's going to be a tornado that's going to destroy everything. It's going to be a very bittersweet sort of hopefully impactful ending that I think you may or may not but you'll understand it. So that's my goal. So I'm sorry it's not going to be a super huge love fest, but it's not going to be something of true concern depending on your feelings about which characters. So I guess I just leave it at that. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, so next one is, will Mino ever be a thing? I've shipped them from the very beginning. So as you can see now, with how the last chapter of the California arc sort of ended, there's going to be a bit of Mirren and Gino sort of reconciling, being together. There isn't going to be, I guess, as a spoiler, there isn't going to be another big fight between them. You did this, I don't like this, I hate you, bye. Which they've had 2 or 3 times. It's nothing like that's going to happen. If there's going to be any things with the relationship that sort of shakes it up, it's going to be very it's not going to be very juvenile. It's not going to be a blow up. It's just going to be if they were to not be with each other for a time being, it'd be more oh, let me just step back and deal with this thing right now, deal with my feelings right now, and I still love you, and I still have all this respect for you, but I just need to deal with what I'm feeling, and then we can get back on page or something like that. But again, I'm not confirming or denying anything, but what I am confirming is that there will be no big Gino blowing up at her or Mirren blowing up at Gino. It's going to be very mature about how they handle their feelings and everything that they've been through. Okay, so next question is, what does Mirren really feel for Gino? Oh, let me say that again. What does Mirren really feel for Gino? So I think it's just difficult because her character hasn't had the best life, so she's just very skeptical of people and of love. So I think that's very important of how she responds to some of the characters in the series. And I think it's tempting to be that she doesn't like him and she's just sort of dealing with him, but it's just very hard for her to truly be open with someone, which Gino has sort of attacked her for, being oh, you're not open, you're lying or whatever. But it is hard for her. I will say that her feelings for Gino, I would say, are stronger than for Parker, but there are some feelings in a sense there. I don't know if it's quite, it's hard to say if it's more so oh, he's this really attractive guy who's interested in her, who is actually a really nice guy. So of course she's oh, you like me? All right, I'm down with that, But then there's also Gino, who kind of sees through her, which is I think hard because he's also a skeptical person. He's also very perceptive, so he doesn't, he doesn't like let her like slide. Like if she wants to like be like, oh no, this is, I don't like this. He's not the kind of person who's just gonna be like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. You don't like this, we can do something else. He's more of like why don't you like this, or what's the problem, in an earnest way. But it's hard to deal with that constantly than someone who's more agreeable. So I think that's where they sort of clash, is that they're both very like skeptical people, and they're not like, they don't hold it in. They're just like, oh, this sucks, I don't like this, as opposed to sort of like humoring each other's feelings that much. They're not as sensitive towards each other, and you could argue that maybe with that sort of personality that you would need to be with someone who's more sensitive to your feelings, or knows how to put things a little bit more nicely or whatever. Because I don't know, that's where I feel they clash, and it just takes more maturity to be able to either just be okay with someone who's sort of not in the business of humoring your feelings all the time, but not necessarily being mean either. And that's why I think it's hard to sort of deal with. Okay, next question is I know this Q&A is meant to be more about the book, but I'm really interested in knowing what you've been up to. So I think I already went on a spiel of how I have no life and how I have to read all day and I can't do anything ever, and I live at school, and then I go to my apartment and I sleep, and then I do the whole thing over and over, and I cry myself to sleep, and but yeah, I've just been focusing a lot on school. It's a little bit better than last year, just because I think you're used to the abuse of just having to study all day, versus last year, you whine about it more, you're a little bit more emotional. Now they've beaten the emotions out of you. I can't even cry anymore. I just dry heave when I'm really sad. So it's gotten better in that way. I do try to write, I try to play music. I don't know if you know, but I like to play bass and guitar, but it is hard to sort of do it as consistently with writing and stuff. So I wish I had done a little bit more writing over the summer. Wish I could have finished the series, but I know sometimes it sucks to just rush through a series and then no one's happy and you kind of put yourself in a weird place. So yeah, so I wish that the story was done in a sense, but I'm not gonna complain, because I think that there's some things that I just have been having epiphanies about within the last month or even a few weeks, and I'm like, you know what, these are really cool concepts that had I just rushed through it, you wouldn't get to see it. So I'm really hoping that when the product is done, it's going to be something that you really enjoy and really like. So let me see if there are any more questions. So I think that's it for questions here. But yeah, feel free to ask me questions, PM me, email me, ask me whatever you want. I know there are a lot of things that are coming. I think just for you to know for when the story comes back on, I think the pacing is going to get a lot faster. It's going to be a lot more, a lot of jabs. There's going to be another thing that kind of pops up that's going to be it's going to thwart some of their plans, and it's going to be interesting. And there's going to be a little more of an introduction of other characters. Or you're going to see more things with the Rinzin is having their 75th anniversary, so you're going to see people maybe Gino's family and Parker and Wallace's family and even Penelope's family, and those people sort of popping in and sort of making an appearance, and maybe having a role with how the progression of the story and some of the things that are the reason why some of the characters are the way they are. So that's going to be, I think, something really interesting. Some reveals with Chara. I know we haven't really been spending much time with her, but you're going to see some things with her and figure out who is responsible for the little beatdown in the woods that